Ishita, I'm sending you the link. ठीक है?
Yeah, yeah.
ठीक है? Okay.
Mhm.
हम्म, आप डाल दो and let's see. We'll also evaluate क्या चल रहा है. Okay. So welcome guys to the 23rd edition of TBC's Weekly Startup Live, a place where we discuss all the funding related and startup news related activities which have been happening in the ecosystem. As usual, we have got an awesome panel. We have got Kulmani Rana, who's the co-founder of Fibonacci X. We've got Vishal Kale, who's the co-founder and marketing head at Studio D90, and we have got Akash Agarwal, who is director data science at Paytm. Along with me, I am the chief builder at the Builders Club, and we together are going to talk about, or rather discuss, what has been happening in the startup ecosystem. So, as usual, what is usually the norm, we will go through the funding updates and then we will get down to the startup top stories which have been there. So, just to kick off, so this week around $222 million were dispersed across 27 deals, out of which 7 deals were growth stage deals and 17 deals were were early stage deals. In the growth stage deals, the 7 startups raised $150 million in funding, and then 17 deals basically raised $72 million in the early stage startup. Talking about the growth stage deals, so starting off with Northern Arc Capital, they are a financial services firm. They raised $80 million. Then is Cloud Extel. Cloud Extel raised 200 CR from NIIF Infrastructural Fund and Aditya Birla Finance Limited. Then there is Let's Transport, which is a trucking aggregator. They raised $22 million from Bartelsman with key participation from various investors. Then there is Bank Bazaar, which is an online marketplace for financial products. They raised $9.6 million from which is basically an ongoing round for the Series D. Then there is Clicks Capital, which is a provider of business, property, and school financing. They raised $6 million from DCP Bank. Then there is Samunnati, which is agri fintech platform. They raised $5 million from Capital AG. And then there is SmartWorks, which is a co-working space provider. They raised $4 million from Singapore-based Capel Lab. Talking about the early stage deals, so we have got around 17 deals. We'll just touch upon a few of them in this one. So, starting off with Listcraft, which is an omni-channel fashion brand. They raised $26 million from Peak XV Partners, previously Sequoia Capital, and Process, Sofina, and partners of DST Global. Then there is Acacia. Acacia raised $6.5 million from Illuminate Financial. Then there is Solar EPC Solutions, which basically they raised $3.1 million from India Head Venture Fund and Sunil Sanghania's family office. Then there is Splash Aid, which is a healthcare and insurtech firm. They raised from Piper Serica Angel Fund and SOSV. Then there is Boba Bhai, which is an elder care startup food items platform. They raised $1.4 million from Titan Capital and Global Growth Capital UK. Then there is Matchlow, which is a sustainable container logistics and supply chain optimization startup. They raised $1.5 million from Motion Ventures and July Ventures. And then there is Runo, which is a SIM-based outbound call management company, which basically raised from Unicorn India around $1.5 million. Talking about the deals on a city-wise basis. So as usual, Bangalore rules the roost. 10 deals from Bangalore, 4 from Delhi NCR and Bombay, 3 from Chennai, 2 from Hyderabad, 1 from Kochi, 1 from Pune, 1 from Ahmedabad, and 1 from Jaipur. Now, this basically concludes the overall picture of the startup ecosystem and what's been happening around. Moving on to the news stories of the week. So, this is something which we believe is going to be an interesting one. Quite a few interesting news stories. So, the first one is basically Girish Mathrubootham, the CEO of Freshworks, basically stepping down. It's kind of a breaking news. So Girish is basically handing over the CEO reins to Dennis Woodside and is transitioning to an executive chairman role. This has basically led the Freshworks shares to fall by 25%. I mean, this is a usual PR boilerplate, but Girish is is saying that he'll remain highly engaged with the product and vision. But then the transition basically frees him up to spend more time for the product teams. Uh, so this is again a ARC exclusive article, and I think this is going to hit all the other all hit the newsstands in some time. But I just wanted to kind of become a little bit more focused on why this has been happening. So again, from 2023 onwards, Freshworks has reported that its revenues had increased by 20%, and the losses have actually reduced by 40%. And it has set a target of reaching $1 billion in revenues by 2026. After becoming a publicly traded entity, Freshworks has been reducing its cash burn rate and focusing on profitability, which has actually gone well. But I don't know then, I mean, why exactly has this happened? Because earlier this year, Chief Revenue Officer Pradeep Rathinam also quit. He was replaced by Abe Smith, who was the head of global field operations. And now Woodside is joining in as CEO. The way I look at it, I think the transition to a more global management rather than an India-focused management is happening because again, Woodside has had a great experience in Dropbox, but both the chief revenue officer and the CEOs are now being replaced by people from the US. Is there anything that we need to read into this, Vishal, Akash, Kulmani? Any takes on this?
Sure. Uh, I think there are two kind of reasons for these kind of changes. One
Mhm.
is what we tell to the market, and
Of
another
course.
one is the real reason.
Mm,
So, real reason we don't know. It may be only limited to the boardroom discussions. I don't think. See, uh, that conversation that Indian CEOs are not fit for global roles. I don't think that's valid anymore. We have many examples of CEOs basically being successful global SaaS companies. No. The way he has out in the press is that he wants to focus on AI and other specific things, right? That's what he's telling the press, that I want to focus on very specific ideas and build them further from a strategic perspective. So I don't think we should draw any conclusion for this from this. And second is we don't know the real reason. Maybe there is something else in the background, right?
yeah,
It's a Nasdaq listed company, right?
yeah,
I think.
yeah. So basically, what it is saying is they are again right now going fairly aggressive, right? So what has happened is Zoho has surpassed it in revenue. That is the only thing which I see it not having a this thing. But my I think from a revenue standpoint and from a profitability standpoint, they have been doing fairly well. So there are two aspects to it. I mean, there are two, at least from my end, there are two things which come into my mind. One is, of course, which I spoke about, that is the Indian management, whether they are suited to take it to the next level or not. Second is the fact that he has been at it for almost 15 years now. And as he is also talking about that, this is, Woodside basically was hired as a successor to Girish. And that is what has happened. I think the point which also makes sense, and probably there might actually be some truth to this, is the fact that this is happening in May. This is the 1st of May that this news broke, which is exactly 1 month from the new financial year starting over. So there's a decent enough transition which has happened, and this is not an untimely or rather a knee-jerk reaction to XYZ. This seems to be a very thought through decision, given the fact that Freshworks is actually one of the largest venture backed companies out there. Let me
But for US companies, they can choose to file their 10K at different quarters, right? It's not fixed there mostly.
I don't know, matlab, I think
To stop him, which is a bit surprising, but I suppose you can understand given that the founder is moving to a different role. So that's only to be expected. But to counterbalance that, this is one of the few grown startups, unicorns, whatever you want to call it, in which we are seeing the founder promoter moving to a different role and leaving the operational aspects of the company to the professional manager, which should have translated to at least, if not the stock shooting up, at least some positive movement. But the negative movement has slightly taken me aback. But I don't. That's the only thing I can contribute. What I see is there's a professional manager coming in, and the founder is moving to a different role, transitioning to a different role. It could be as you said, the AI aspect could be anything. So that's my value add. I think Akash or Kulmani would be in a better position to take up this, at least compared to.
cool. I think this is a interesting development. But having said that, Freshworks still remains very interestingly one of the largest venture capital backed businesses by revenue in the software space. So Girish, of course, has done a great job in doing this, and I think Freshworks and Zoho both are doing fairly well. We have a lot of things to be proud about, and I hope that hopefully we'll be able to get Girish in for probably one of our AMAs or one of our podcasts as well, and probably ask why, why. But I think he's also 49. He's looking to move probably to a different kind of a role. And all the best to Girish for his future, and all the best to Freshworks with its new new management. Moving on to the next news. This is an interesting one. So WhatsApp threatens to leave India if forced to break message encryption. So WhatsApp Council has argued in the Delhi High Court that users use the messaging platform because of the privacy it ensures and for the end-to-end encryption offering. The court was hearing the platform's plea challenging a provision of IT Rules 2021, which requires social media intermediaries to identify the first originator of information. The Center's counsel argued that tracing the messages is the need of the hour, and that WhatsApp has already faced difficult questions related to this before the US Congress. So this is a very interesting one. And a lot of this is a fairly controversial news as well. But what is your take on this? Because see, again, this has a lot to do with the current government wanting to arm twist all the social media giants and rather all the communication platforms to give them access to data which is usually encrypted. But I think the WhatsApp founders had, I think, when this whole iPhone saga, I think I remember when they were still when both the co-founders of WhatsApp were still on in Facebook. They had basically made the end-to-end encryption thing. This is during the whole Congress hearing back in 2019 or 2018 when when the US Congress was asking for iPhone to hand over the data when this encryption end-to-end encryption of WhatsApp had been announced. But now the Indian government has been outwisting them for that. And according to Karya, who basically represented the Indian government, they're saying that there is no such rule anywhere else in the world, not even Brazil. And we will have to keep a complete chain, and we don't know which messages will be asked to be decrypted. It means millions and millions of messages will have to be stored for a number of years. So what is your take on this, Vishal, Akash, Kulmani?
Something that is going to come up before WhatsApp again and again across the world. So WhatsApp is simply going to have to find an answer. They may find a way out and talk to the Indian government that the Indian government may relent or may not relent. I don't know what will happen on that. All I know is this is a demand that is going to come up repeatedly again and again across. Google faced the searching questions, and despite the long fight, Google lost the battle in the US. And in fact, globally, in Australia, in USA, in India, everywhere. So if WhatsApp is thinking it can fight back giants bits price, it's okay. It's quite fair enough that they're digging in their heels. It's their business, but they are going to have to find some kind of an answer to this. If not now, then sometime in the future, because this is going to be a requirement. I'm not going into the right and the wrong, the morals or the ethics or whatever. I am completely neutral on this. As it is, my messages aren't so secret as it would really. I mean, this is something that really doesn't impact me. It makes no difference to me whatsoever. So, but from a business perspective, globally, demand is going to come up across jurisdictions. So, will they fight in each jurisdiction? I don't know. They are going to have to find an answer. The answer will be, I have no idea. That's the only thing I can say.
क्या लगता है कुलमणि आकाश? What is your take on this?
See, my point is, I mean, like I think Vishal has also mentioned, right? I mean, yeah, maybe most of the governments would want the access. I think I feel to some extent for few people it should be done. But yeah, but if the case, right? I mean, we have seen, right? There's been like a lot of like bad things which is happening to India, right? Due to neighbors and stuff which is happening. Most of those plannings as actually had come in like multiple like hearings has like happened on WhatsApp. So to some extent, I think this request like it makes sense, but yeah, I mean, it should not be that weak that any simple case comes up and you give the, I mean, you break the encryption and share the data. So I mean, the problem is that the problem, like to solve this problem itself, is not very straightforward. It would require a whole bunch of basically like rules that when like they should be broken and when not. So that actually creates I mean, that makes it a very hard problem to solve.
I think user privacy and what WhatsApp is also saying that it kind of violates the fundamental rights of the users guaranteed under the articles of the Indian Constitution as well.
Right, the right to be secure in my own country.
Yeah.
So what has a strong point. I did not want to say it openly. Right, and that Akash has a very strong point. If it is required for security reasons, then I don't see why WhatsApp should not share. So maybe this is really something on which you can't comment much. Akash has really cleared me with-
ये सेम पॉइंट आई थिंक आईफोन वाले केस में भी उठा था, if I remember correctly, back in 2019, where the whole US Congress, and then eventually I think the iPhone itself had some issues and it kind of lost all its data. I don't remember the exact specifics of that case, but I think security issues can be cited for n number of things. Yeah, that's my point. If the USP of your platform is privacy, then, and as WhatsApp is saying that, okay, fine, I'll leave India. If that is the issue, then we'll leave. So I don't think then the Indian government also rather the audience also should have an issue with WhatsApp leaving. WhatsApp saying that fine, we'll not probably do business here. But I don't know it because given the fact that WhatsApp is a part of Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg operates in a very different fashion than how WhatsApp co-founders, the original founders used to function. So it's again a wait and watch kind of a game. I think both Twitter and WhatsApp have been facing a lot of issues, a lot of backlash, a lot of pressure from the Indian government. Let's see
So
how this comes out.
something is indispensable. No product is indispensable. Any number of products are
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah,
available.
absolutely,
And
absolutely. Yeah,
that's why I said it makes no difference to me. If there
yeah,
won't be WhatsApp, somebody will come along to fill the gap. My communication will keep going.
yeah, yeah,
So that's
absolutely.
we see that as a non-issue really.
Yeah, yeah.
तू नहीं और सही और नहीं और सही. Simple as that.
हाँ,
I just want to send a message to somebody. Yeah, that's the story.
सही है, सही है. चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं. Moving on to the next one. So this is around Zomato piloting priority deliveries in Bangalore and Mumbai at an extra cost. So, a user in Bangalore was very recently offered the option of availing food delivery within 16 to 20 minutes by paying an additional rupees 30 as per a report. Now, sources within the company confirmed that the offering is being piloted in Bangalore and Mumbai, where you are going to get delivery under 15 minutes for if you pay priority food. And again, this is a very interesting value proposition. I remember similar stuff. I think Swiggy had started something where they had created a curated menu which was hyper local and which would be served in under 10 minutes or under 15 minutes. And depending on which locality you stay, your menu changes and there's a set curated menu which these people have. And Zomato is now piloting a very similar feature. But they are basically saying, I don't know whether it's saying that any food can be delivered or not, or this is just a specific delivery. But yes, the company will be charging an additional fee for priority deliveries from Zomato Gold users as well. So, again, of course, it's an additional alternate revenue stream. Of course, Zomato has been experimenting with service fees and platform fees, which used to be 2 rupees, then it became 5 rupees. So Zomato is now trying to, after now that it has a captive audience, is trying to basically get as much ARPU as possible from its captive audience. But what is your take on this? Would you be willing to pay extra money for faster delivery? I mean, as a user,
That's
as a consumer.
simply, I'm a regular user. Living alone, I have to do this very often. Even if I'm in a rush, if I'm late, don't have time to cook, and I want my meal in 15 minutes. I'm not going to pay extra. Not when there's a restaurant hardly half a kilometer from my place. I'll simply compromise. ठीक है यार, बड़ा रेस्टोरेंट में बाजू वाले से मंगा लेते हैं. क्लीन है, हाइजीनिक है, एयर कंडीशन रेस्टोरेंट है, उससे मंगा लेते हैं. बात खत्म हो गई. So why? I mean, the first thing that came to my mind was why. That's why would anyone want to pay? Some people will, but is it a strong enough revenue channel? I don't know. But I see one reverse or rather hit back from this coming. If Zomato continues to do things like this, it will only fuel the interest of restaurants to set up their own ordering channels through their website. Like Domino's, it's now completely of Swiggy and Zomato in the sense that they are not dependent on either of them for their business. Their business is very strong through their own app. McDonald's followed suit. That's why you don't see the McDonald's at all. So, if this is the way Swiggy and Zomato, I don't know if Swiggy is doing such things. My apologies to Swiggy. It's an interesting idea, but I don't think strategically, from a strategic perspective, it hasn't been carried forward long enough and in a in a mix of different options that are available and ideas that can be implemented in this, the logical message to restaurants is they can simply go direct channel. Earlier delivery, there's only one way this can happen. You don't club orders and send an individual order directly from restaurant to the consumer. Now, what is preventing a big restaurant to say, hey, ऐसा है तो why don't I divert this business direct straight to my own website? That's happening. That is already happening.
मेहनत है ना सर, नहीं होता आजकल. मतलब आई डोंट नो वेदर, आई डोंट नो अबाउट पुणे, बट यहाँ पे मैकडॉनल्ड्स, डोमिनोज सारे स्विगी और जोमेटो पे हैं. इट्स नॉट दैट दे आर नॉट देयर, बट माय कंसर्न इज समथिंग डिफरेंट. सी
But then,
फ्रॉम अ hotel
percentage
perspective,
contribution is not that interesting.
what I'm saying is from a hotel perspective, any which way is distribution. I think hotel से commission नहीं ले रहे हैं ये लोग user से ज्यादा पैसा ले रहे हैं. Right? So it's up to the user whether they are
Yeah, ठीक है,
prioritizing
वो तो ठीक है.
convenience over money.
But see, Sohail, get this. अभी क्या हो रहा है? The orders are being clubbed up. Now, in this case, you are saying to the hotel will understand that this order is going directly. This is just a small point. It is just one small point in the favor of the breakdown जिसे मैं बोलता हूँ. There have been many issues at the back end that Zomato has faced. They are exposing their backend to the directly to the consumer here, because there is simply no other way you can guarantee a 15 to 20-minute delivery. It has to be one delivery boy picking from one
Yeah.
restaurant direct.
Yeah.
So aggregator का तो आपने concept यहाँ बिल्कुल पूरा one shot में खत्म कर दिया. Your business model is basically that of an aggregator model. You are directly connecting the restaurant to the consumer. This has played out in so many other industries before. If Abhi to it won't make any difference because it will be barely a fraction of 1% of their business. But in other industries, it has happened when you connected the backend straight to the front end, removing the engine of the business. The backend and the front end have shaken hands and leaving the engine out in the car. Any number of examples that exist in business case studies. The difference is percentage contribution in those cases was always above 10%. Abhi they are in safe territory. Won't make much of a difference. So it's like that WhatsApp thing. Either way, I don't see any difference. But from a strategic perspective, I don't think they have thought this. They are connecting the front end and the back end directly, which is in an aggregator model. It really does not make a strategic sense to me. It's a short-term move to garner additional revenues. We know that Zomato is in trouble, so they are desperate for money. Fair enough. But my advice to them would be to discontinue them once they are out of it. Because from a strategic perspective, I don't see the sense. Maybe I'm wrong, because strategy has this habit of leaving even the greatest experts to be far too often. So maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see it that way.
क्या लगता है इसमें आकाश, गुलमणि? देखो, मेरा एक टेक ये है कि आई डोंट नो हाउ विल दे बी एबल टू डू दिस. दैट इज माय फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन. कि ये जो आप जो बोल रहे हो कि currently one delivery driver picks it up from multiple people and hence the timing and everything, कितना कम हो जाएगा? 5 मिनट से 10 मिनट से ज्यादा तो कम नहीं हो सकता ना. It can't be lesser than. So this is what is like 16 to 20 minutes for paying this thing, and the same order was showing 21 minutes on the app. It's hardly 5 minutes of difference. Versus what I saw on Swiggy, which was a different approach altogether. They piloted this during probably 2020, 2021, where they had a curated hyper local menu for you, which they guaranteed saying कि मैं 10 मिनट में ला करके दे देगा, क्योंकि ये बना हुआ है मेरे पास, मुझे पता है मैं कहां से ला रहा है. और वो लिमिटेड क्वांटिटी में भी था कि सोल्ड आउट हो गया तो सोल्ड आउट हो गया. ठीक है, बट आई डोंट थिंक they kept it, because I don't know, there might be multiple reasons why. Either they didn't see enough traction, or they didn't see enough revenue that was to be made from this, but they were not charging a premium for that also. बट इसमें 5 मिनट का डिफरेंस के लिए आप 30 रुपए दोगे क्या? क्या टेक इसमें आकाश, कुलमणि, आपका एज अ यूजर?
Subscriber for Swiggy One. I have not used Zomato since 2015 probably.
Same.
So, so I'm a Swiggy loyalist, as you can call them. But I enjoy Swiggy One benefits, no delivery fees, other benefits. Uh, what happens for in this cases? I think they were already doing it. So, for example, they were doing it for places where you have high density of food restaurants, right?
Mm,
So let's say they already have 10 riders available outside Cyber Hub exit gate, right?
mm,
They have defined SLAs for, let's say, let's take an example of any restaurant in Cyber Hub, let's say soda bottle opener wala, right?
mm,
Uh, and soda bottle opener wala tells them that I can do this only for certain SKUs on my menu. I cannot do it for everything on my menu.
mm,
So this will be for available for certain SKUs on the menu. Second, it will be mostly available if you're basically easy to execute if you're sort of ordering from those kind of restaurant where there is already 10, 15, 20 riders available, right? So that is, but this was already happening, right? Certain dishes they were able to deliver in 20, 25 minutes already. Whether I mind paying 30 rupees for in case of I want my order to be delivered quickly. I don't think I'll mind depending on what those 10 minutes are worth from me. Do I need to do I have another meeting right after that, or do I need to rush somewhere else, right? Then I can do that comparison, 30 rupees versus 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So those kind of, so it will be for select users. Again, I think they will not be able to do it for all the restaurants. It will be for restaurants which are concentrated in those key hubs in
mm,
particular cities and limited to SKUs, right? A
mm,
particular SKUs. See,
mm,
restaurants are so in these key hubs, right? Usually the rider does not come to your restaurant. Somebody from your restaurant has to go to that cyber hub gate and give that order in the hand of the rider.
mm,
Rider does not have time to enter
mm,
security, come to your restaurant every time. So a
mm,
lot of fine tuning has to be done at the end of the restaurant also.
mm,
The restaurant guy, once it's done, takes it, walks 900 meters and gives it to the rider. So
mm,
it's a two-way street. It's not only Zomato,
mm,
right? In a lot of these cases,
mm.
99% of the cases is the Zomato rider, but those 1 to 5% of the cases, also the restaurant also has some SLAs which they need
हम्म,
to meet at their end.
वही वही मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि भाई आप नहीं गारंटी कर सकते हो कि खाना जल्दी बनेगा कि नहीं। आप
Ah,
मतलब मैक्स टू मैक्स
but
अपने अपने ऑपरेशंस को आप ऑप्टिमाइज कर सकते हो, पर आप खाना जल्दी बनेगा वो कैसे
what
करोगे?
what I can tell you is that Swiggy and Zomato are very good partners. They open up their data if restaurants want to work with them.
हम्म,
They work with the restaurant on select basis. Let's say if you are let's say a high selling restaurant on their platform,
हम्म,
you can work with their team. They can give you that kind of split, what hours, how many minutes, and how are you doing on particular orders. And they are very good that way. They're happy to partner.
हम्म,
So they have been already doing it for post COVID. They have been very actively working with the restaurant and sharing that data,
हम्म,
but only with the select ones which are
हम्म,
like top sellers. So they
हम्म,
can give you that slice and dice also. That in this
हम्म,
zip code between these hours, you have a spike in the demand for chicken burgers.
हम्म,
So you can run an offer on your menu on those items. So they can give you that level of slice and dice also.
हम्म। नहीं
They're
मेरा,
already working with restaurant.
मैं तो ये बोल रहा हूँ कि देखो ये इट्स अ गुड एक्सपेरिमेंट। आई थिंक जोमेटो हैज बीन एक्सपेरिमेंटिंग एनी विच वेज क्वाइट अ बिट। ये भी एक एक्सपेरिमेंट करके कोशिश कर रहे हैं। दे हैव बीन डूइंग क्वाइट अ फ्यू। तो दे पायलटेड द लास्ट माइल डिलीवरी सर्विसेज टू ऑफिस गोअर्स इनसाइड कॉर्पोरेट पार्क्स। इन्होंने अभी प्योर वेज फ्लीट भी चालू की थी, जिसके ऊपर काफी गाली पड़ी इनको। ऑल इलेक्ट्रिक लार्ज ऑर्डर फ्लीट भी किया है फॉर अप टू 50 पीपल एट वन गो। तो एक बार में आप बल्क ऑर्डर सेट आपको देना है, तो दे हैव स्टार्टेड दैट आल्सो। तो अभी क्या है कि दे आर ट्राइंग टू ऑप्टिमाइज एंड गेट एज मच रेवेन्यू एज पॉसिबल। because they are on a bull run anyways ना अभी तो मतलब their profitability also went up. I think where is this Zomato's net profit has quadrupled to 138 CR from 36 CR. So, and I think Blinkit is also doing fairly well, right? So अभी ये कर रहे हैं, इनोवेट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि लेट्स सी क्या क्या की जा सकती हैं, राइट? तो वही
My
है।
understanding,
Accumulated losses. Have they wiped out their accumulated losses? Zomato.
Yeah,
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 the
they're
losses are
profitable
gone
now.
now. Yeah,
They're
profitable,
profitable.
nice.
Yeah, yeah. कंपनी एकदम
So my take on this,
हम्म
yeah, my take on this is, see, now with Blinkit, right?
हम्म
They would exactly know what are those people, right, who are
हाँ,
okay to pay some fees to get the stuff faster, right?
हम्म,
So like what they are breaking it in, basically like grocery or like I mean like similar items. I think Zomato is actually trying to break the same thing for food. And I mean, we might not accept it. Maybe we are not the right people, but
rightly
I
so.
can 100% tell you there are people who are ready to pay to get the food early. I can 100% assure you that there is a market for this. I think for a restaurant to make this, but I think what Kulmuni has mentioned has absolutely right. It might work for like more like a QSR, right? Where this money, this basically 29 rupees will be split between the
Restaurant and
restaurant
the
and and Zomato. It will be split between the two. Like not sure how the split will be, but yeah. But for QSR and for certain SKUs, and there are some like some big places, right, where they know that the churn is very high, so that they can create the food like quite fast. So it will be possible there. That is possible, and I think I feel now is the right time to make this basically product a success, very similar to how like Blinkit has worked like really well for them. And if you see, right, like right now, what happens is that, like lately, what happens is that restaurant will get the order. So, to assign the person, right, who will actually bring the order to your house, like it will take around like 10 to 15 minutes, right, like to do that assignment. So they can optimize that, and of course, if the food is something which could be prepared faster, then only they will be able to basically give it fast. But given their experience, right, I think maybe like they would be able to crack it for some
ये
excuse, I guess.
ये मतलब अलग लेवल पे कर रहा है भाई। दे हैव ये दिस इज समथिंग व्हिच आई डिडंट नो।
Mm.
they were actually piloting last mile deliveries for corporate park, this thing, because in corporate parks people आप साइन इन करोगे, चेक इन करोगे, तो इन्होंने क्या किया, दे हैव बेसिकली गॉट अ वॉकर इनसाइड अ कॉर्पोरेट पार्क कि खाना आया, उसको बोला इस बिल्डिंग में लेकर के जाना, खाना वहां पे दिया। इट्स लाइक अ बेटन पासिंग रिले रेस में जैसे होता है, दिस गाय देन गोज एंड गिव्स इट टू पीपल। सो आपको बार बार साइन इन साइन आउट वाला हेडेक ही नहीं है। So these corporate parks are whitelisting these last mile delivery partners. So this is a separate walker का फंडा to optimize or reduce the time। अब कर रहा है यार, Zomato is innovating and really really interesting। Both for Swiggy and Zomato trying out newer things in this last mile delivery and logistics space. So all the very best to both the partners, and great work Zomato। Okay, moving on। अच्छा, ये जोमेटो की ही कहानी है, बट आई थिंक आई डोंट इसमें ये करने की जरूरत है। बट गोल्डमैन सैक्स अप्स जोमेटो's PT to 240, says Blinkit is more valuable than food delivery business। Yes, ये this is something which you were talking about, right, Akash? Last
Yeah,
week।
yeah, last week, yeah, I think Dipender has himself mentioned it. That's quite
Yeah,
clear, I think.
yeah. Blinkit's
You can see the
implied
growth, right?
valuation।
It is 104% of growth over a top line of I think 3000 CR or 300 CR. I mean, like, but at least right, it's like multiple like hundreds of CR with the growth of I think 100%. That's crazy growth actually.
ये भाई EBITDA ब्रेक इवन कर लेगा Q4 2024 तक, बताओ।
Mm.
चलो ग्रेट, मूविंग ऑन टू बायजूस। ये सौरभ सर नहीं है भाई। बायजूस का सर से कोट लेने में बड़ा मजा आता है मेरे को। Byju's fires another 500 employees in ongoing restructuring exercise। I don't think there's anything much to read into it, in case you people want to talk about it, but हाँ, ये this photo has become like a staple now। So yeah, the company which has adopted a work from home policy for most of the employees reportedly informed about his decision to the affected employees over phone calls. While Money Control reported that the layoffs primarily impacted the sales function, a report by ET said that about 240 employees who were working in Byju's tuition centers were also laid off. मुझे एक बात बताओ, ये currently in 2024, and I think Kulmani, you probably might be the best person to answer this. ऑनलाइन जितनी भी कंपनीज थी जो ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन में थी, has everybody gone down to offline? मतलब from a behavioral perspective, is anything, any kind of education being done online? Or has everything which used to be online during COVID time moved offline? कुछ भी हो रहा है क्या अभी?
So the pendulum went too far, right? We thought everything was moving online. Now people understand that offline experience will not be replaced, right? What students' interactions with each other and conversations, they lead them, to explore new dimensions. So I don't think we should look at it that way. The only thing, like I said, we went too far. Now normalization is happening. Uh, uh, are there companies which are coming up with business model through online medium? Yes. Will we see new players coming with more innovations through online medium? Yes. But offline will stay relevant, right? That's what we should understand. Offline will stay relevant. University education is not going anywhere anytime soon. It will stay there, right? Because university education has too many upstream and downstream stakeholders, right? So that will also stay relevant. But yeah, most of the players, and now that I think about most of the players which were, uh, celebrated during COVID or doing major rounds, major expansion, I think they will have to do. They are facing the reality in terms of high customer acquisition cost, marketing expenses, bloated payroll, etc. So that has to be reduced, right? That has to be cut down. They have to, and they realize that offline is where you make most money.
नहीं, मेरा
Online, that
मेरा
acquisition cost is even too
मेरा
high.
मेरा क्वेश्चन अलग है गुलमणि. व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज बिहेवियरली अभी जो मतलब ऑफलाइन तो है ही, ऑफलाइन तो चल ही रहा है, ऑनलाइन में कुछ भी हो रहा है क्या? ऑनलाइन जो हमने ये किया था कि जो लोग पढ़ रहे थे ऑनलाइन, कुछ भी हो रहा है क्या ऑनलाइन अभी? ये सारी चीजें ऑफलाइन हो गई है?
No,
No,
we
no.
do have a bunch of online players. So 2 weeks ago, I think this maybe now Sports Portfolio Company in the School of Fun that offers grade 1 to grade 12 online only, and they have few thousand students. This is for students either who are doing sports and they don't have time to go to regular school. There are some case studies like that, people who are getting funded, who are scaling, right? And I think Prakash wanted to add, but there are some more examples which will come. So हो तो रहा है, ऐसा नहीं है कि कुछ नहीं हो रहा है.
इंटरेस्टिंग इंटरेस्टिंग. क्या है आकाश आपका
So
टेक?
just to just to add to the point, right, what Kulmini has mentioned, I think, see, if we break it, I've done some detailed research into this domain, right? If you see, EdTech is broken into multiple pieces. So the first piece is the part where it is 1 to 10, right? Like most like 1 to 10, where all the students will learn very similar courses. Then it is, of course, basically K11, K12, which is like 11, 12. And then you have, I mean, for the like BTech or whatever, like similar domain, you have the universities where you have to do it. And then the last part is that after your graduation, right, then you also have this like opportunity to upskill yourself. So what has happened is that in COVID, all these three pieces have gained the presence for online. But what actually parents have realized that from 1 to 10 and like to some extent 11 to 12 also, like only doing online might not work. right? Because it actually kinds of basically I mean for students, right, who are like students don't have that like right focus to use like to use this opportunity in the right way, right? That is one of the
Mm,
reasons. But if you see the part, right, after your graduation, right, if you want to
mm,
upskill yourself, most of these like bigger players there, like if you see like Coursera, Udemy, all these are these
mm,
edtech platforms are like online. They started online and they will basically remain online because the people who are going to use these platforms, right, these people are basically focused enough that they are spending money so that they if they are putting money there, then they have to basically put the effort. And but of course it also like depends on the person as well. If you see the mock, right, I'm this MOOC,
MOOC, MOOC,
I
हाँ.
think the closure rates, yeah, the
Mm,
MOOC closure rates are very less actually, like like close to like 10% or something. But
mm,
still, the point is, I mean, for the like after your to like upskill yourself, yeah, most of the platforms will be online. I mean, there are some places which is offline, but it will be hard for a person who is like doing a job, right, to actually go to these offline centers and learn, right? So they will like remain online,
mm.
just that the first two parts might not be online.
Interesting. That's a great point here, Akash. Thanks a lot for this. This actually is true. I think anything which was post college or rather upskilling, the Brilliant and the Coursera and all of these, they will still work as online. But the ones which used to be, the kid, the school 1 to 12 kind of a this thing, that might actually go back offline. Cool. Moving on to the next one. So this is a small one, but yeah, UPI transactions declined slightly, 1% MOM to 13.3 from 13.44. But I'm sure that this is just something which we see more. I think there are a few others which we want to capture. We'll come to this one a little bit later. But yeah, Mohit Gupta, Zomato executive Mohit Gupta and Myntra co-founder Mukesh Bansal starts a new venture called Listcraft. They backed a $26 million funding. So basically, they are starting an omni-channel play as a marketplace for premium brands. Right, so this is a new. They are getting into the fashion and apparel sector, which is kind of a this thing. So Myntra founder Mukesh Bansal and Zomato executive Mohit Gupta, they basically are starting this company. It's in the omni-channel fashion space, and the money is being deployed by Sequoia partners as well. So again, advanced stages to close a $50 million Series A. What is your take on this space on the fashion apparel? I think Kulmani, you are very much focused in this space, and they are also building in this space only. Any take on this? Listcraft.
Three things. I think we started from the top. When this news came out, I was looking for their website. Now they have a website. I think that
हाँ.
day the website was not live because I was
ये
now the
पहले
website
पैसा
is
आया
there.
है
Now at
उसके
least
बाद वेबसाइट बनी है नहीं.
yeah. And second point, I think this has to be the biggest seed stage funding round
Yeah.
probably in the last few years in Indian VC space.
Hmm.
26 $26 million is what that is.
Yeah.
Third is they are probably India one
India
high-end
one.
fashion, right? Fourth is they said they are going to now. I was just browsing their website. They're going to start with women's fashion
Yeah.
first.
Women's fashion.
So that's a good category. That's a good category to target. Um, Here, I think then what do they do? They will tie up with designer houses, designers directly bring their collection directly to their portal before it goes to the store. So if you want this exclusive collection, you come to my portal. This is what my understanding is. Uh, that could work. On the other hand, if I looked at what are the challenges or risks here, the only challenge I could think of is corporates like Aditya Birla and Reliance have been investing into upscale fashion brands, designer brands for last 3 to 4 years. Right, most of them have premium brands, India based, have taken money from either Aditya Birla or Reliance. Both of them have. So, not sure if you can compete with that kind of money if they try to scale. Um, not sure. What else? Who else do they? Will they launch all the categories at once in women's fashion, or will they only focus on few categories? Nothing is clear from the website basically, right? I only see their team's picture and then they say contact us and then there's just general gyan, but nothing as it what we are going to sell, etc. So let's see how it unfolds. They have a lot of money for now. So again, this
इसने
is
इसका so this they are basically competing with Virtue, and Mukesh Bansal is also an investor in Virtue. So ये अपनी कंपनी को कैनिबलाइज करेगा या फिर एक्वायर कर लेगा, मुझे जो समझ में आ रहा है.
something like that. Something like that.
हाँ, एंड आई थिंक सी मुकेश बंसल हैज द एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि क्या चलेगा फैशन में. ठीक है, नो बेटर पर्सन देन हिम टू टॉक अबाउट फैशन ई कॉमर्स इन इंडिया देन हिम. एंड मोहित गुप्ता coming from a logistics background will then optimize the supply chain. तो ये बताएगा क्या बेचना है, ये इधर ऑप्टिमाइज करेगा मार्जिन, and then they will basically create, and I think they are building for India one, they will also probably be building just for the top 1%. बिकॉज ये कहानी वही घूम फिर के आ जाती है ना कि जिसका सबसे ज्यादा आरपू है मैं उसी के लिए बिल्ड कर रहा हूँ फिर. और भले ही मेरे को बस 1 मिलियन लोग ही मिले, लेकिन वो 1 मिलियन लोग मेरे से ही खरीदे बार बार, और ज्यादा मेरा टिकट साइज जितना हाई हो उतना ज्यादा हाई हो. दैट इज वाई दे आर गोइंग इन फॉर अ प्रीमियम ब्रांड ना. समझ रहे हो आप मेरी बात? तो again it competes with the likes of Numi, Absolute Brands, Snitch, Stitched and Virgio. And again, Mintra has launched FWD, a dedicated fashion portal attracting 10 million Gen Z. तो Gen Z के ऊपर फोकस्ड है, बट Gen Z में भी फास्ट फैशन नहीं बट प्रीमियम फैशन के ऊपर फोकस है. So let's see. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a marketing game at the end of the day. It's going to be a perception and positioning game of the platform at the end of the day. Um, very
Question here,
simple.
Suhail.
हाँ हाँ विशाल.
Money specific, because as you said, Kulwani is an expert in this area. What's the long-term view of this entire approach, luxury brands, and because I am asking so because I have only one practical exposure of working in the luxury market for a premium for handset brand. Uh, in at least in the electronic space and that space, I'm seeing that it didn't have a very long future. It's almost zero. So, I mean, from a long-term perspective, a separate channel for the luxury or premium brands, how does that work? What's your take? And it's a genuine question, not
Yeah.
loaded with.
So yes, I think not an expert to start with. Second is uh, do we have a case study which we can look at? We can look at China, how the consumption of luxury brands has shaped up in China. Uh, China loves luxury goods, right? If you travel around Europe, US, most of the luxury goods are purchased by there. And even locally, in local market, there is a huge demand for likes of Louis Vuitton, Hermes and other brands, right? So that is there. Uh, Second, for India, I think we have several countries within our country, right? So the size is big enough, right? In that way. But another example, which recently everybody has been discussing, is the sale of expensive cars in India, right? Is that how that has jumped, right? You see high-end cars above 25 lakhs or 30 lakhs. How just waiting time is around, I think, more than a year now, 12 months plus, right? Because that's a backlog. Uh, so I think we are an aspirational society as of now. As we transition towards $10,000 per capita, $12,000 per capita, given if there is no catastrophe in terms of environment, water table doesn't drop, there's nothing random happening, I think we will be uh, bigger consumer than China at that point, right? Because we are a more open market for foreign brands, and we have similarly aspirational Gen Z, even younger folks who are coming up. They want to sort of these global brands have an appeal. And I think these Aditya Birla and Reliance, what the example which I was giving was, they have invested in Indian designer brands, right? So that is also another thing, that this aspirational thing will be there, where we have, let's say, Louis Vuitton and Nikes. We have craving for that. Second is, I also want Bangala from Raghavendra Rathore or somebody like that who is selling it to me for 5 weeks. Both things will be there. So these
मनीष
two
मल्होत्रा,
things will
रितु
coexist.
कुमार, वो सारी की सारी चीजें आ
Yeah,
जाएगी
yeah.
ना फिर।
All of them have taken money, by the way, now, from either from Reliance or Aditya
अच्छा,
Birla or somebody.
अच्छा,
All of them have taken money. It happened in within a matter of 24 to 36 months. So all of them have created some liquidity for themselves, because earlier they were running a mom and pop shop,
yeah.
and now they wanted to expand to multiple cities, so they took money. So they they bit they ate the forbidden fruit and diluted their equity, basically.
Dubai, draw of the Middle
So
East.
to answer Vishal's question, yes, this demand will be there. Obviously, we can't predict everything, but looking at China, looking at other countries which have transitioned from middle income to higher income, this demand is there. And look at other countries like South Korea, which were similarly, they were there in 90s and now they're developed, or probably around $30,000 per capita or something like that. There is also huge demand for such goods.
The region is set
Fashion.
to turn into a magnet for Western brands, according to recent report.
I kind of agree and disagree with that. Like I said, lot of demand will be there for homegrown brands. There is enough. The space is enough, big enough actually. That's what I think.
बहुत पैसा है सर इंडिया में। 1.66 million people in India are forecasted to hold more than $1 million net worth by 2027. Big number. मैं बोल रहा हूँ सर, देखो 16 लाख लोग हैं, 16 लाख लोग, 16 लाख लोग काफी हैं सर। हर बंदा मेरे से खरीदे हर साल लाख लाख रुपए का, बहुत है भाई, बहुत पैसा है। चलो, मूविंग ऑन। Thanks a lot, Kulmani, for this. This is a great great insight into the luxury fashion market. Moving on to, अच्छा ये मुझे बताओ, सोहेल समीर वही है ना, भारत पे वाला? Is the same guy or is a different guy? He is probably the same guy. So there's this OTP Ventures he's starting. They are basically closing around a 400 share. Yeah, this is the former Bharat Pe CEO Sohail Samir. So he has backed this venture. I don't know why it's been written like this, but yeah, OTP Ventures is closing his 400 CR debut fund. Debut fund 400 CR का बहुत बड़ी बात है यार. Early stage fund which
Yeah, all
Samir
of
has co-founded with Food Panda's former MD Kunal Suri and SimSim's co-founder Saurabh Vasisht. हाँ, sorry sir.
just reminded me of the Food Panda story. How
ये
much?
food,
How much did they raise? Like 300 million, right? There is
I
something,
think yeah
some
yeah
crazy
yeah
number
yeah.
like that.
ये मतलब देखो सर,
They went belly.
मुझे ना ये फिर, I think the people who are investing and the people who had raised and exited, इनका अपना ही एक माफिया चल रहा है नहीं, अलग, ये आपस में ही पैसा घूम रहा है इधर से उधर इनका, और मल्टीप्लाई हो रहा है, पता नहीं कहाँ से क्या चल रहा है भाई इनका। बट हाँ ठीक है, सो दिस ओटीपी वेंचर्स इज बेसिकली फोकसिंग ऑन कंज्यूमर टेक एंड फिनटेक, एंड दे आर सीइंग सीड चेक्स चालू कर दिया ना, 2023 में चालू हो गया था कुछ। सो या, दिस इज वन छोटा सा न्यूज। फोन पे, अच्छा ठीक है, पिन कोड के बारे में बात करने का सेंस नहीं बनता है। I want to touch upon this one. ये लास्ट स्टोरी है, इसको जल्दी से करेंगे, बाकी सब छोटी छोटी न्यूज है, छोटी छोटी न्यूज जल्दी बता देते हैं। तो एक तो यार ओयो होटल्स अभी 450 मिलियन बॉन्ड सेल कर रहा है फॉर रिफाइनेंसिंग। देन फोन पे owned e-commerce app called Pincode is no longer offering services in fashion, grocery, and electronics on ONDC. I don't even know what Pincode. Pincode, is it a मतलब company worth talking about? I have never heard of Pincode, but apparently this is a thing और ये ONDC के थ्रू बेच रहा था। 1 year after fintech major PhonePe launched Pincode in ONDC, the e-commerce app. अच्छा हाँ, the reason why I kept this, I remember now. Why are we? I mean, what's the status of ONDC right now? There was a lot of hula buloo around ONDC when it launched, but what is happening in ONDC now? मतलब वो फिर लॉन्च के बाद गायब ही हो गया, क्या है अभी सिचुएशन? एनीबडी हैज एनी क्लू? कुलमणि, आकाश,
I
आकाश?
know.
हाँ,
I think Akash can add, but their team is working from the same co-working space where I am. So,
अच्छा।
like,
ओएनडीसी, ओएनडीसी की बात कर रहे हो, पिन कोड की बात कर रहे हो, ओएनडीसी की बात कर रहे हो?
ONDC.
क्या सीन है भाई, क्या चल क्या रहा है? व्हाट इज द करंट स्टेटस ऑफ ओएनडीसी? ये भी इंटरेस्टिंग है, मिस आउट हो गया है
Yeah, I'm
वैसे।
also doing some research like ONDC. I've done, I mean, not done like a complete research per se. But yeah, I mean, ONDC, like we know, right? It is going to like it wants to become a middleman with very less the middleman will take like less money
Yeah,
from the merchants, right?
yeah,
Like just to help the merchants. But
yeah.
seems like where it is working very well right now is like more in the space of basically cabs and stuff, right? Especially auto, not exactly cab, but auto like auto side has become like quite famous. Like but e-commerce and fashion, right? I mean the biggest problem here, right? What you need is if you buy something, right, it should reach to you fast, right? That is what most of the big actually corporates have built. But here, what happens is that the merchant is different. Then the person who is going to basically take the stuff from the warehouse of the merchant, and then actually the person who's going to give it the stuff to you, right? So in ONDC, all these things are basically separate services. The
Hmm.
problem is that when all these things actually becomes one piece, right, the output is like really bad. So the
Hmm.
problem is that's why I mean the like that's why it is not growing like as much what was accepted. But as once these like single piece, right? Once these are resolved, I think then maybe there is a like higher chance of this thing like to work out. But right now, I think the I mean it is not good in terms of the service which is being
Hmm.
which we get from a single brand.
Yeah, a lot of companies compare ONDC with UPI, which is very similar to what article. But the problem is UPI is still very product centric. ONDC is all about service, right? So if the service quality, the moment you get into services, there is a human element attached to it. And that is where the problem is happening. And I don't know, number of transactions on ONDC, even their projections is saying कि 2027 तक उतना ज्यादा नहीं होगा, 27 से 30 के बीच में जंप मारेगा। तो इनको अभी तो 3 से 4 साल दे आर सेइंग कि भाई अभी तो करंट स्टेज में ही इन 2023 December ONDC had surpassed 2 lakh transactions per day mark, and currently mobility drives the highest number of transactions, what you were talking about, Akash, followed by F&B and fashion. The digital commerce network is operational in 500 cities. Currently, ONDC barely contributes 3% of the total e-commerce GMV. By 2030, it is projected to grow to a whopping 30% of the GMV. So, अभी saying कि यार अभी तो 3 से 4 साल के बाद फिर हॉकी स्टिक दिखेगा, जब जब मेरा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर रेडी हो जाएगा उसके बाद ही होगा, बिकॉज टू योर पॉइंट आई थिंक सर्विस क्वालिटी का ही प्रॉब्लम है ना।
Yeah, agree. So yeah, without these pieces like being solved, very hard for it to work. Especially
Hmm.
that 1.6 like 6 million like number what you have mentioned, right?
Hmm.
Those guys want like things very fast and with
Hmm.
very high core quality, and at the same time, if you want to return it, that should be extremely fast as well, which you will
Hmm.
not get from ONDC right now.
मैं एक बार ओएनटीसी पेटीएम पे तो अवेलेबल है ना ओएनटीसी में एक बार करके देखेगा अभी।
Yeah, Paytm has integrated. Yeah, Paytm has integrated on this. Yes, yes.
चलो ये मेरे ख्याल से दिस दिस इज द लास्ट वन। एक लास्ट हम ये कर लेते हैं। सो इसमें नॉट दिस दिस मुझे गलत नाम डाला हुआ है बट आई थिंक होपफुली यस। सो बेसिकली पॉइंट इज देयर आर अ लॉट ऑफ सेलिब्रिटीज which were investors, but they are now becoming a part of the management now, right? So a lot of companies, जैसे आलिया भट्ट जो है, आलिया भट्ट was an investor. There are a lot of people who are now becoming either co-founders or becoming a part of the management in itself. Do you think that's a great move? नहीं मेरे ख्याल से वैसा ये लोग इन्वेस्टमेंट्स के नाम पे ही है ना। दे आर स्टिल इन्वेस्टमेंट्स, ठीक है। बट देर आर अ फ्यू स्टोरीज दैट वी वर कमिंग अक्रॉस वेयर पीपल वर एक्चुअली becoming a part of the management as well, as in they were getting into the day-to-day operations as well. Is that something which you think would work? Um, I mean, we have seen cases like this happening in the US where companies were co-created by these people. So, like for example, यहाँ पे एडा मामा, इसमें क्या है हाँ, they were either co-creator or have a rev share model. And Adam Mama was initially fully funded by Alia Bhatt. So they basically set up the team. They are basically doing a rev share kind of a model, and they're basically getting involved in the day-to-day operations as well. ऐसे कुछ कुछ केसेस देखे गए हैं। व्हाट इज योर टेक? कुछ स्पेसिफिक इंडस्ट्रीज में शायद काम करेगा नहीं, जहाँ पे शायद इस बंदे का सब्जेक्ट मैटर एक्सपर्टीज हो, बट स्टिल आई थिंक फॉर सेलिब्रिटीज टू बी एज एडवाइजर्स इट मेक्स मोर सेंस। क्या लगता है आप लोगों को?
I don't see any issue with it. Some of the best business people I have known have had no connection with business. They learned the hard way and moved up. So if they are willing to get their hands dirty, and their hands dirty in the sense if they are willing to dip their hands into the operational nitty gritty, I don't see what's the issue. And most of the celebrities today are educated as well, so I don't see that as a problem. I mean, this it's like that. It doesn't make any real difference. Think of your own personal experiences. How many times you've come across clients, your bosses, or companies, or vendors, or partners who have absolutely no grounding in business and have yet gone on to make successful companies or successful forays. So if you're smart, if you are worldly wise, you can do it. So I don't see any issue with other the others may have a different. That's I mean it's yeah, one thing it is good in the sense that it will drive more and more people, at least because people follow them and they are celebrities. So it will encourage a few more people to try out their own ventures. And India does need more entrepreneurial spirits. I don't see any downside. Side.
नहीं, आई थिंक ज्यादातर लोग अभी भी इन्वेस्टर्स ही हैं। आई थिंक द नेम ऑफ द दिस थिंग वाज अ लिटिल बिट मिसलीडिंग। मैं ही कंफ्यूज हो गया था। इन्वेस्टर्स टू ऑफिस
Yeah,
बेरर।
the only brand where I think a celebrity has added real value is HRX Fit and
HRX
Hrithik
from Hrithik
Roshan.
Roshan, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely agree.
other brands, I think most of them are failure, not because it's a judgment on their ability as an operator. Most of them are pretty scattered, right? While they are still doing movies and doing other. But if someone can be involved, because I think in HRS, Ritik was his involvement plus his appeal also, right? He himself is into fitness and people identified and he had a certain brand. So if you can find a brand which kind of is aligned with how that particular celebrity is perceived, yes, plus plus, right? Now, if Shilpa Shetty comes and talks about healthy food and yoga, yes, definitely she will add, you know, she will bring her own audience also. Right? That's a positive side. But otherwise, if something is not aligned with your own image or your own brand, then I think it's better to remain in the background as an investor,
Hmm. Makes
because then
sense.
actually you may not be able to add a lot of value as the
मैक्स टू
face of
मैक्स
that brand.
मार्केटिंग में मदद दो बेसिकली जो रणवीर सिंह भी कर रहा है
हाँ,
अभी बोल्टन के साथ.
right, right. उसमें हाँ, because that's something they know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can't become the face if it's not something. Otherwise,
Cool.
you may not do that much value.
Cool. I think with that, we'll end today's edition. Thanks a lot, guys, for joining in. We'll see you guys again next week, same place, same time.